Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nikos. I'm Jonathan Albin, and this is Game Master Soapbox. I'm going to be doing a special episode today to bring you up to speed on what it takes to create a persona, a character in the Nikos RPG system. I'm going to be covering it in general terms. Tomorrow, I will be releasing a video about midday that will have the breakdown of how the actual character sheet, the persona profile, is filled out and to do all of the mechanics of it. But I wanted to give you a kind of an overview of what is entailed in a character for Nikos RPG. So I created a mnemonic, a mental way of remembering the steps of creation for a Nikos character. So I've listed them here: base, race, place, estates, and ways. And this is the order in which you establish the values for the various information you have to play the game. And it's broken down in segments that are clearly definable and easy to understand. And then I used a color code here to kind of show them in order that makes sense. So the first thing you have to develop is the base of the character. And the base of the character is the foundation of everything else that occurs in the game and comes down actually to one number that is derived from all the others, and that is the character's foundation value. We'll talk about those in particular when we do the die rolling mechanism. There will be a link on this video to go to the one that concerns itself with quantum die rolling, but that's not used in creation of character. That's just a mechanic that's used in game that makes it uniquely separated from all of the others that you've ever played. So a base is determined by the ramping process, and ramp is a acronym that stands for roll, assess, modify, and proceed. It's a process of stepping up the values of a number until such time as you fail the dice roll. It's kind of like a progression to your fail mechanism, just like there is in weight training, if you will, where you lift a weight and then you change the weight up a setting and do it again and keep going until you can't do it anymore. Well, in this case, you're rolling on the system that will create your numbers, and when you get to the point where you fail, that value that you failed on is the one that you're stuck with, if you will, for that particular foundational number. So the bases are used fundamentally in the gameplay as the mechanism for resolving conflict when all other options run out. In other words, if you are trying to attempt something that you don't have a skill for, you'll decide which of the foundations most likely applies and then roll a dice against that for the success of that specific action. We'll go more into that tomorrow. The next thing you have to talk about, we've talked about base, now we're going to talk about race. And race is specifically the species from which your character is derived. There are no specific individual races within humanity. For example, for play purposes, a person is a person, a human is a human, an Auroch is an Auroch. But the races are defined by a collection of identifiable marks, and these marks are chosen at creation as well. So you choose which species you wish to play as, and then take on six of the multitude of options of the marks of that species. This gives you a variety of flavors. In the world of Nikos, there are more than 30. I think there's like 35 different species that you can roleplay as. So it's a wide open field, and arguably gets wider every day that we play. So who knows what it's going to go to in the future. But the specifics of the race is somewhat customizable. So the players actually decide what characteristics they want, and they choose the marks from that species that they feel most clearly identify their character. When we talk about the next part, we're going from the base to the race, and now we're going to talk about place. In this case, the place is talking about the culture in which you are raised as a character in a game. And because this is done in a pre-play condition where you're actually generating the numbers of a persona that is existing in the world of Nikos, these the culture from which you come does have an impact on your character in that you must choose two of the particular skills that are learnable within your place of origin. And this is to reflect the impact that your culture has on your persona. So you only choose two from that group, but these two are seminal because as they're coming from your foundational location, they kind of give a jump start to the thought processes that you're using to develop your persona. So when we've gotten through the base, race, and place, we now have to talk about the estates. And again, the estates are chosen from a variety, and the estates are, in effect, talking about your standing within the culture. Where are you on the scale of valuation, and how are you choosing to evaluate the world you're in? Again, there are a number of estates skills, and you actually have a mandated number of them based on the character's foundational core. As we talked about in the very first part about base, the foundation is the aggregate or average of them, and it determines the value of the number of estates skills that you'll take. Once you've chosen those, then you've now established not only where you live, how you define yourself, what species you are, and what your core values are. We're now going to talk about the ways. And ways are determined by your overall foundational skill. And generally, this number is going to be someplace between 25 and 55. It could be a little bit higher, could be a little bit lower. But the ways determine your original starting skills base, and it's rather expensive. You've got a lot of options because the game does not have the concept of characters class involved. There's not a delineation of career paths by mandate. You can literally advance in any direction you want to. So the ways are very broad, and you choose a lot of different ones. Once you've gone through that process, then you will have a considerable number of different things at which you are good. And one of the most interesting things about the Nikos RPG is that the number of skills you have is not a mandated number. There's not a specific success value or for any of them, and all of them advance every time you use them in game. So it's a way to specialize and manipulate the character in the direction that you as a player want to take them. Once we develop the base, the race, your place, your estates, and the ways you have advanced, now we talk about your stuff. And just like going to a regular store to purchase items, stuff is chosen from a variety of lists. Now, one of the unique characteristics of Nikos RPG is there's no price list listed for the items, with the concept that on initiation, the things that you generally start with are the things that you simply have with you at the point where your story begins. And therefore, there's no price to own them. You just simply have them. But more importantly, the storyteller or game master can determine restrictive values for this if they so choose in order to make your story more interesting. Perhaps the storyteller will give you a set list of items that your character begins with, or perhaps he wants to set it up as a survival game, and therefore you start with a very limited number of items to possess. But stuff is therefore malleable and adaptable, and you'll find the lists are rather extensive, and the number of shopping lists from which you can purchase are rather extensive. So, now that we've gone through the steps, your base has been determined by die rolling under the ramp system. Your race is chosen, and the marks for that race have been annotated. Your place of origin, your culture is chosen. You picked up some skills from that. Your estates or your standing within your culture are chosen, and the core skills are therefore picked for that. The ways for your career path or the way you want to advance yourself is determined by your foundational skills, and you'll have all of those chosen. You have all of your stuff. So now all that's left is to get ready to play. And so then the persona is brought into the director's story or the game master's story with whatever details that he wants to embellish or add on to it, and we're ready to rock and roll. And so in less than 10 minutes, I've walked you through the base mechanics of creating a character in the Nikos RPG. Tomorrow we'll be doing a full rundown live on Twitch, probably around midday, where we will go over not only the character creation mechanisms, but the actual play mechanisms of the Nikos RPG. So if you want to join us, the channel is twitch.tv/NikosRPG. And if not, there will shortly thereafter be uploaded to YouTube the segmented portions of that longer broadcast. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching this video, and if you've had the time, go ahead and click the follow or subscribe button and subscribe to us on Twitch if you like the content we're creating. If you don't like the content you're watching, thank you for the time you've spent with us this time, and I hope to see you next time. This is Jonathan Albin, Nikos RPG's Game Master, and I'll see you next time.